I welcome into another episode of the Butt and Breneman Show. We got the man, Adam Breneman, right here. We don't have enough time for pleasantries, Adam. We have a lot to get into today. We're going to start with your alma mater. They're winning. I think it speaks to how talented their roster is, coming off a 30-plus point victory, and yet there's question marks. And I just want to give you the floor. Give me the temperature gauge. What's going on there in Happy Valley?
The temperature gauge on Penn State social media is not very good. Have you seen it, Jake? Have you scrolled through Twitter at all recently?
Oh yeah. Trust me.
It's not great. I watched back both sides of the ball a couple of times from the FIU game. Penn State wins 34-0. I'll start with this. Penn State has been one of the best teams in the country at winning the games that you're supposed to win. And there's a lot of teams that wish they won all those games. If there's one thing James Franklin's been awesome at, it's been showing up for the games that they're favored and supposed to win. They've done it every time in his tenure at Penn State. I am concerned about Penn State's offense. I'm concerned about Drew Aller. The fact that at this point in Drew Aller's career and in Penn State's offense with Andy Kotelnicki, there was never really a point in this game against FIU where Drew Aller looked comfortable. It's one thing to get off to a slow start and then ramp it up in the third quarter, but there was never a 3-series period where Drew Aller was in rhythm in this game. And that's worrisome. And that's been a theme for Drew Aller's career at Penn State. If he doesn't get off to a good start, his play becomes volatile the rest of the game. And Drew Aller has the arm talent. We saw him make an amazing throw to Devontae Ross, which was great to see Penn State have an explosive play where their wide receiver just beat man coverage and took a shot down the field. But Drew Aller has to play more consistent, and that play by the quarterback by Drew Aller against FIU will not beat Oregon in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. On top of that, Jake, Penn State's run game identity is really missing. Penn State ran outside zone almost all game against FIU. And when Penn State's been at its best on offense, it is downhill run game. Take the thinking out of it for Kaytron Allen and Nick Singleton. Get downhill, impose your will on FIU.
Can I interrupt you on that, though?
What's that?
It shouldn't matter with this offensive line.
Good point. It shouldn't matter.
In those backs, it shouldn't. Yeah. You know, sorry, but go back ahead. Go back ahead. I want you to finish.
It's a great point. I mean, we should dive into that. I just to finish my point.
Okay.
Too much East-West run game. I'd like to see them just go downhill and impose their will. And you really think about, I've been a fan of the early season. Hey, why schedule tough teams early in the season? Because you're not rewarded for it. If you lose those games, it hurts you. But then you get in a situation where Penn State has Nevada, FIU, I can't even remember who they played, Villanova, and then you have a bye week, and then you have Oregon, who I think could be the best team in the country. If you're a player, we're talking about young kid, 18-year-olds, subconsciously you're like, I got 3 weeks to warm up, then a bye week, then it gets real. Then we get Big Ten play. I think it hurts them, and I think we saw that against FIU.
Well, Oregon's not having these issues, and Oregon's scheduled some games that certainly they feel good about winning. But here, I'm going to make my point, and then I'm going to come back to you. Like, first off, what you said, you never apologize for winning. You celebrate all wins. There's nothing guaranteed in this game. Truly, anything can happen. Like, we've seen that before. You never apologize for winning. But when you go all offseason, it's not just the players aren't coming out here and saying, we're going to win the national title. But they are saying, and we are saying, hey, we came back here. Drew should be in the NFL. Singleton, Aller, a bunch of guys should be in the NFL. But they came back because they want to win a national title. So it's irregardless of the opponent, whether it's FIU or whether it's Oregon in a few weeks. You could, in football, you can win a game against a good team and may not play your best. So it's irregardless of opponent. You are judged against that standard. Every individual, every offense, defense, special teams unit, and as a team, and this includes practice, at the end of the day, when you lay your head down at night, you ask yourself, was that good enough to win the national title? Because that's our goal. And right now, they cannot honestly, I would say the defense is okay, especially defensive line. But on the offensive side of the football, with all those veterans, they cannot honestly say that was good enough to win a national title. And here's my concern and what I want to ask you. Why they should be playing free. Drew Aller, man, when he takes the field, I want him to take the field knowing he is a first-round pick. He is a top 10 guy and play like it and don't care what it looks like because it doesn't matter. You are that. Singleton, Aller, you are that. And when you face an opponent, like Matt Rule said last week, hey, they're disrespecting you. They think they can hang with you. I'm not seeing any of that fire and passion from Penn State right now, and I don't know how you gain it back. It's not time to panic yet because I know
Yeah.
it's there, but it
Yeah.
seems like there's a mental from your heart that's missing on the Penn State offense right now.
I watched the film last night of the Penn State game, and on my notes right here at the top says, I want to see life and intensity out of Penn State's offense. Like
There you
I
go.
want to
We're
see
seeing it. Yeah.
I feel like I'm watching the film like with intensity. And I'm like, what are we doing? I want to see Drew Aller play like the best quarterback in the country. Nick Singleton, they're like,
Yeah.
Nick, I'm watching the film. Nick says, go hit the hole. You're a speedy running back who can break tackles. Go play like Saquon Barkley would play right there. Go hit the hole and
don't try to be something.
Yeah.
Be Nick Singleton. You know what I mean? Be. I completely agree.
And I wish I knew what the issue was. I think Drew Aller has so much talent, and I think he wants to be perfect for Penn State. And I think there's a lot of pressure in being the Penn State quarterback. He's trying to not make mistakes. He needs to just go play free. And when he plays free, the rest of the offense will play free. When he plays tense, everyone else plays tense. And I just want to see him play with some life and some intensity. I'm hoping we see it against Villanova, and then Penn State's got to get ready because they got a big game against Oregon.
And listen, this is a beautiful thing at the same time. You should always spin something to your advantage. And it's good to play football with a chip on your shoulder. So all this that's being said and being written, and frankly, I'm sure the players are saying it to themselves because they're competitors, that should allow you to go play with a chip on your shoulder this weekend and go put it together because let's spin it now to Oregon. When the Ducks come to town, I mean, Ohio State deserves to be ranked #1. They have that home win against Texas. They look great against Grambling.
Yeah.
But boy, if you just looked at the tape and said, man, and you just said, I test purely, the Ducks have a case as much as anyone to be ranked #1. They look phenomenal. I know you're in agreement. Tell me why you're so high on the Ducks.
Dante Moore has as much talent as any quarterback in the country and is playing as well as anyone in the country. Now, I know their schedule has not been very difficult, as most teams haven't been at this point, but the way Oregon's playing on offense, the defense they have, Will Stein, their offensive coordinator, it may be the best coordinator in the country. He is so talented at getting his quarterbacks to play free and fast, like we just talked about with Penn State. He's so good at getting his quarterbacks in space in advantageous situations. So good at using his playmakers. Will Stein's a great motivator. I do think, though, the X factor for Oregon, and the reason that I'm so high on them right now, they got all the talent. Yes. They got a great quarterback. Yes. They have the best motivator in sports right now in Dan Lanning. He is as good as it gets at getting his players fired up, playing together on the same page, showing up in big games, showing up in when their backs against the wall. Dan Lanning is the real deal, man. And I love watching all his pregame speeches, all the content they put out about him. But he has those guys playing with a sense of belief that they are the best team in the country right now. And if you just look at it, if you watch the tape and turn it on, I watched their game from last weekend. Oregon looks as good, if not better, than any other team I've seen play on Saturdays.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of the opposite of what we're talking about with Penn State. That team is playing free. That team is playing with pure passion. There's joy that, like, it's almost infectious. When you watch them play, you're like, man, that is a football team right there.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. I said the same thing on Big Ten Today yesterday, that I think Will Stein should be towards the top of everybody's list for the Broyles Award. And if it is his goal, he will be and should be a head coach one day, because he's the great unifier. Because Oregon, we know they always have so many weapons, but it's on your offensive coordinator to make it all come together, and then to steer your quarterback to attack the weak point and hit the open man. And we've seen Dylan Gabriel, phenomenal talent. Bo Nix, obviously first-round pick. But Dante Moore, I think, has just more pure potential in his throwing arm than either guy, which is really, really scary. So,
Jake, have you got a chance to sit down with Will Stein? Have you called any of their games?
I called their game to open the season. Yeah, against Montana State.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
An impressive guy, man.
He's so impressive, man. Yes. Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how good Oklahoma State really is throughout the season. You know, and there's a chance Oklahoma State's a decent team. throughout the year in the Big 12. So it'll be interesting to see it. And now Oregon has a big game kicking off Big 10 play on Big Noon kickoff against Northwestern. I'm excited to see now, can they, against a Power 4 team, can they put up 60+ points back-to-back weeks against a Power 4 opponent
on the road, a long road trip too. Yeah, but to go back to your point about Oklahoma State or Montana State, like they're like a freight train, and they don't care. They don't care who's in their way. Like they are saying, this is our standard. This is what we're capable of playing to. We will be judged against our best possible version of ourselves. And so far, they are playing really close to that potential, which is extremely impressive.
Oregon, I said this when I was watching the game. Oregon made Oklahoma State look like an FCS opponent that came into town. I mean, that's just
And then, Kenyon Sadiq, their tight end. I don't know, man, go back. He's a free. I mean, he was on Feldman's freaks list, like a 42.5-inch vert or 41.5-inch vert, squat, bench, all that, 23 miles on the GPS. But he's a unbelievable blocker. He is pancaking dudes all across the film. He's my favorite to win the Mackey right now. He's just been phenomenal.
To put a positive spin back on Penn State as well on the tight end, Luke Reynolds is playing really well at Penn State too.
Yeah,
I love.
How about Rappleyea too? Rappleyea moves really well. Yeah. So they got some studs. All right, we got our Fansville hype moment here by our sponsor, Dr. Pepper. It's going to be a fun one this weekend. We buried the lead. We got our conference game starting up here, Oregon and Northwestern, but we got one more game this weekend. Who are you looking forward to? What fan bases should be excited about this weekend in our Fansville hype moment?
Well, let's go to the USC Purdue game. First Big Ten game for both teams. This is a good matchup. I want to see, for USC fans specifically, this is the first offseason I can remember where USC doesn't have a bunch of flash and hype going into the season. Not many people are talking about USC. Not many people think that they got a chance to win the Big Ten. And USC is not used to that. And all the talk's usually about them. So this is a USC team that I think has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And man, have they played well through their first 2 weeks. I mean, Jaden Mayav is playing like one of the best passers in the Big Ten, over 700 yards. I think he's completing like 75% of his passes right now. They have playmakers all over this USC offense. Jacoby Lane, Makai Lemon, their running back, Jordan
Lake McCree, their tight end, is a stud too.
Yeah, exactly. Walker Lyons is playing really well too. The storyline against Purdue now that's really interesting is Jaden Mayava was at UNLV with Purdue head coach Barry Odom. Purdue offensive coordinator Josh Henson was the OC at USC last year, so has saw Jaden Mayava there. So there's a lot of familiarity with how Jaden Mayava plays, what his tendencies are. They know his personality. I mean, they coached him for multiple years as Purdue staff. So there's an advantage there for Purdue to knowing his tendencies, knowing how to attack weaknesses, knowing what Mayava likes to see and what he doesn't like to see. It's going to be a really intriguing matchup. But if USC finds a way to win this game and win it big, the hype train is going to be going right back on USC. Similar to how we're talking about Oregon right now, we'll be talking about USC football.
Yeah, the Fansville hype man moment, man, it should be the Trojans. I mean, they're number one in college football, I believe, in scoring, in total offense, explosive plays. They're checking every box. But why I'm most excited about them, like, we know that's a given when Lincoln Riley's the head coach. But it's been Danton Lynn when he got hired. It's this slow process towards playing dominant defense. Like, man, can you imagine that recipe of Lincoln Riley offense, Danton Lynn defense? And he finally said this offseason that he feels he has the bodies to execute some of his schemes. They lead the Big Ten in sacks and TFL. So very scary that they have a defense that can force teams backwards with an offense that is as good as anyone at going forwards. But then the real Fansville hype man moment is the Purdue Boilermakers, because no one knew what to expect with them this season. I understand the opponents through 2 weeks. They had a quarterback battle going all through camp. No one knew what to expect. And yet they have an offense with an identity. We haven't been able to say that these past few years. Ryan Brown is doing his job. Maccabee had his coming out party last week. And it's like, we know them as the Spoilermakers. They're hosting USC, another long road trip this weekend. It helps to have an identity. It helps to have a defense that's playing with some confidence. This is the big test to see if they can get it done. They'll need to win the explosive plays. They'll need to force some turnovers, all that kind of stuff. But I got to imagine the Purdue Boilermaker fans are feeling great ahead of this matchup, and two fan bases that are going to be juiced up.
Yeah, well, back to USC. It'll be interesting to see, for me, how USC handles the long cross-country trip. You think about their trips last year, they lost every game they played where they had to travel across country. I think it was 3 of them last year. How do they handle changing time zones going to Purdue? And then that defense, Jake, you just mentioned about for USC. How about Anthony Lucas, the former 5-star recruit who started at Texas A&M, transferred to USC? Man, he's playing, and Dan Lin has Lucas playing like one of the best DNs in the Big Ten, and you see that talent coming out. And I always think that's a great sign when you have highly talented guys who were 5-star recruits that 3 years haven't gone great up to this point, that now you have them reaching their ceiling, playing like they're playing loose and playing free and playing with the talent that they have, and getting it to come out. Sign of good coaching, and USC seems to be putting it together.
Yeah, it speaks to their culture and speaks to his leadership for sure. And to your point, 2 road trips, Oregon and USC, both hopping on the plane, long flight out east. And, you know, your legs are a little heavy after any plane ride, but especially those long plane rides. It might take them a little time to get settled into the game, but that the goal will be for both head coaches to fight against that and make that not be the case. But nonetheless, we got Big Ten football this weekend. We got Big Ten matchups. So I'm hyped up. It's great to see you, Bren. Rooting for your boys this weekend. Penn State, get back on track, because I love those players.
Not a lot of talk about Michigan from you this week. Not a lot of talk. Yeah, I didn't hear many comments from you about the game.
It's a bounce back week. Listen, man, what's the storyline there? To me, the storyline, I give credit to Venables. I give credit to John Mateer. The Sooners came to play. They were juiced up. What a great atmosphere. Good to see Herb Street calling a Michigan game. Like, man, you don't get to see Herb Street and Fowler. But I give credit. I give the storyline to me. Credit to Oklahoma. They played like they deserve their ranking, and like Mateer deserves to be in the Heisman conversation. And Michigan played like they were unsure of who they wanted to be with a young quarterback. And certainly it's going to be hard to win games that way. But
I wish they just would have let Bryce Underwood rip it a little bit.
I
wanted to take the training wheels off a little bit. But you spoken like a true coach. Coach speak from you. Just credit to Oklahoma. Move on to the next week.
You're exactly right. And then here's one thing I'll say, because Bryce Underwood, part of the reason he was a 5-star, he's a great athlete. He's a phenomenal runner. And Sharon was asked, hey, why aren't you running Bryce a little bit? Because, what a stark contrast with John Mateer. Oklahoma said, hey, you're a playmaker as much as you're a quarterback. I believe the same could be said about Bryce. And Sharon was like, hey, we're of the philosophy, if you're going to run your quarterback, you better feel good about your second guy. And I would counter that. Monday Night Football this week was one of the candidates for Game of the Year of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Either of those teams, their seasons would be over if Lamar or Josh got injured. And yet in the opening game, they're both running the heck out of their quarterbacks, saying, we need to call our best play because the most important play is the next play. I'd like to see that from Michigan. Cut it loose. Don't worry about tomorrow. Go win the game today, because tomorrow's not promised. So it's to be expected, man. I didn't expect Michigan to go out there and play a perfect game against Oklahoma. But agreed. Certainly disappointing, but an important bounce back, because they're going on the road to the Huskers week 4 on the road, and the Huskers are rolling. So they got to get some things figured out. But covered a lot of ground with you, man. A lot of fun stuff here on the Butt and Breneman show. Rooting for Penn State, get back on track. I love talking to Drew Aller and Singleton. Those guys are just class acts. And this should be a special season for them. So bounce back week for them before they play the Oregon Ducks in a few weeks. Good to see you. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Butt and Breneman show. We'll see you next week.